Cartoon script. Part 1. Now, this is Lily. I don't want to pull other weight myself, in terms of so many, mainstream aspects of society. But one thing I want to give you guys is Lily. I want to give you guys an idea that I don't want from my anime or anything of my continuity that anybody can take. I just want to see this done. I want to give you our cartoon script, and you can put it like Lily to our cartoon like Gumball, Curtis and Cali Dark, Lily anything. I am giving you our fucking script that I came up with that has a beautiful meaning, that has a life lesson. So this is a new series I'm called like cartoon script, where you can take ideas instead of like Lee putting it in nods, you can put it in a random episode of a cartoon just so you get absorbed the life lesson. And this lesson is called Half Woman. There's this guy I know in real life who's always really strong out, really be a tough guy, do this that, if you're Lily, if you're tied up, Lily, bring some scissors on your ass to uncut the rope. This is guy who's really absorbed your toxic masculinity, and the whole part about this episode. And so what ends up happening is this, and so these kids are really playing and stuff like that. And then Lily, this OG out of nowhere, like this master of martial arts, and this guy Lily comes up to them, and so there's this really big guy who's punking them with muscles. Lily, there's this big guy who I guess in real life he could be a gang member, but he's just a school jock. Let's stay away from that mentality, like Lily. So this Lily there's this guy Lily with big fucking muscles, punking little kids around, and Lily this and that, and then they end up making friends with that big guy because he's the only guy around. And so this big guy Lily fucking 6'2" muscles, and so all of a sudden they go up to this OG, Lily, an elderly Asian man reading the newspaper. And so Lily, so what the buff guy tries to do is he tries to like punk the grown man. He tries to get his like lunch money and stuff like that. Not necessarily that, but something of that context when they come into confliction with each other. When Lily, the two opposite sides of the story are coming at it, what happens is, so the buff guy is coming out the old man who's an OG in martial arts, and he's all like this, like yo, and this and that, like Lily, look at this, yeah, yo, you wear the flip flops like a woman. And so the whole point of this story is that he's like, yes, because I am part woman. And so what the old man gets to the episode is that these little kids is that he breaks down the yin yang release and why we're a part feminine, and why Lily we have to embrace we're a part feminine, but we also have to recognize that we're masculine. The yin yang like simple is specifically for male and female to recognize that we have to be masculine, but you have to recognize that we come from a female. And the Asian grandmaster expresses this certainly to little kids. What happens is the buff guy challenges him to a fight. He's like, you're not so tough, this and that, you're just an elderly old man. And so the elder man Lily and stuff like that, so he breaks down the science of why he wanted to fight. So what the kid tries to do is the buff guy Lily tries to grapple and stuff like that. Lily, he tries to use his strength over the master's skill. And so instead of playing the game, the master hits him, the buff guy, and his pressure punch with 2 fingers, Lily, and outpoints the big guy. And the big guy thought because he was strong he was gonna win and stuff like that. He's like, save it and stuff like that. So like Lily, he's like, how did I lose? Because it's because I embrace the fact that I am part feminine. It's the reason why I was able to beat you in more areas. You were uptight and I was loose like a cat. You ever wonder why cats can stick like into different places and stuff like that? It's really that's a part of the psychology of females and cats and stuff like that. No, seriously, that's why females are more flexible than men. Like saying shit like that. No, seriously, Lily. Forget that, Lily. So Lily, he's like, and then even the old man breaks it down to the little kids. How'd you win? Do you see how a cat goes in and out of the fence, and you think they can't do it? That's the same technique I use in the buff guy. Lily and stuff like that. Lily, that's Lily, the cartoon. This is the meaning of the cartoon. He embraced the fact that he was part feminine. So everything that the buff guy wasn't willing to do, the master did at will. It's like, Lily, it's because I expanded my mind to more techniques is why I imported them. It's just like that, Lily. So this is just the script that I want Lily. I want to see in a cartoon in general, because this is a big life lesson. Instead of that, because toxic masculinity is a really big problem instead of that, because nobody Lily gets far like Lily bunking people around. Lily, people get far showing pure respect and stuff like that, and that grown ass man Lily, what's the story? It's like, and that is why you see how females are more flexible than men. The cat is more flexible than a dog. So I use the cat technique where he tried to act like a dog, but instead I am a human. I literally just want to see this beautiful script, literally in some way, shape, or form, literally in some sort of American cartoon. Yes, it must be an American cartoon, because I just want this message to get out. I don't want this to be a part of NOS. I want this to be a part like any big thing I have planned. I'm giving the script to anybody on Cartoon Network, anyone who wants to pick the script up. By the way, truly, if you want this to be out there, this is a series I have on my channel called Cartoon Scripting. This is Blue Tricks, and have a good day. How I feel about anime getting normalized. Now, if you didn't really know, like really, I kind of helped anime become a little bit more mainstream over time because I kept on working on it, but also because literally a whole bunch of family members, a whole bunch of traditions were passed down to a point where, there's this thing called anime, a whole bunch of black cousins who just went in their early 30s. There was this thing I knew while I was growing up called Yu Yu Hakusho. That was starting to go through a grapevine every now and then. So anime was going to become more popular by default, but would it be accepted? You see, now anime isn't considered having a mental condition anymore. There was once upon a time where every anime fan was considered to have a mental condition. That was very true because it was a very, spiritual, fictional world that really gave you a lot of substance, really could be inspiring, but it puts you in a really bad place where society doesn't, back up your statement. And that's a really cool thing because anime's rating in Japan is for literally 13 and under, and America's rating is 3rd grade and under. And so what you're doing when you're watching anime when you're a little kid is you're watching something that's very intellectual from a way more complex country that's way more natural, way more down to earth to America, even though they have way more exaggerations in our cartoons with the superpowers and shit and stuff like that. The situations that anime get themselves into are very more mature, more than our wacky cartoons. When they hurt, they bleed. When American cartoons get hit with fucking hammers and shit like that, they get put back together instantly because it's a gag. And that's one thing that they didn't understand about anime. That's why it constantly people question anime, being like, yo, what's with this guy wearing gold hair? Does he think he's Thor or something? Oh, what's with the monster? Why does the fucking slug have rings though? Why is the worm talking and stuff like that? Over and over and over. That's how mainstream people think, because they're obsessed with fashion, they're obsessed with dating. And anime has nothing to do with that, but it's at a higher demographic, because of the historical references that they have, how it actually is heavily connected to real life, because anime is heavily connected into spirituality and really being in tune with yourself, and when you're growing up, when people diss you, say me back when I was in elementary school and everybody was acting brand new, when we got to junior high, and we don't want to watch Dragon Ball Z anymore, Eris, we're trying to fuck girls and stuff like that. I went there, stuff like that. I've been down that route, but that's what makes them stupid. You're figuring that out over time, and every single person who said that to me in junior high made that mistake. And it wasn't anime as a whole. It was the target audience. It was a big mistake, but it wasn't really too much, because a grown man can defer the fictional from the actual reality, because there's two sides of anime, because how anime is structured is, if you live in that world, it makes sense, but you have to understand that it's still a fictional world, but it's heavily structured to a point where it's damn near, fucking comparable to our reality, because there's a catch-22 in certain circumstances where anime and stuff like that. There's always a realistic aspect to freaking anime, how Gohan didn't stay, freaking a savage, how Gohan turned a nerd over time. Those are aspects of anime, that how anime is kind of infused with real life. So that they have really big, elements to help you, the life lessons, Krillin 18, no matter how short you are, as long as you build a name for yourself, as long as you go hard. He was the weakest out of the Z fighters, but he pulled the prettiest girl. Do you know why? Because freaking all that experience, because he built a name for himself, all those years of training and stuff like that, all that went into his goal. All the laws of the universe just helped Krillin out right then and there. So that was crazy as hell. There's a lot of freaking tropes like Goku and Chi-Chi, Goku could be this could be not intentional, but there's something he could betray, Goku could be the stupid dad that freaking that doesn't know what to tell his kids and stuff like that, and Chi-Chi's always yelling at him and shit, because he's struggling freaking mom and shit. You can take shit like that when you grow up and you watch anime. When you grow up and you see how the world works, and then you watch anime, it's really cool. But how do I feel about anime being normalized? I'll put it like this. I don't feel like it should be for everybody, but I feel like it's definitely of just. I feel like it's definitely of justice. People think it's so fucking weird. Why are so many girls in the anime? Okay, I'm cool. I'm cool. This best your girl rocking at Jujutsu Kaisen shirt. No, there's nothing awkward about that at all. That is 100% urban dank. I fucking love the fact that anime is regular now. Fucking thick bitches wearing fucking anime clothes from Hot Topic. Nothing fucking better to me, I don't really consider it a bad thing. I feel like it's common sense for them to like shit like that, but where I get it wrong is because how this shit started, now it's appropriate, but there was a point in time where we were pretending that anime was more dank than it was, because we had shit like My Hero Academia, because memes still going, because of Instagram and shit. Like, we literally thought that anime was more than what it was, and when I became a cosplay superstar, people really were off the hinge when they really thought that this guy must live extravagant, he's grabbing all these girls at a convention, he must have a really extravagant life, and they come stop me during Jordan, oh, he's just sitting here watching cartoons like everybody else and shit like that, and then they try to make a whole scheme out of it. I'm like, you need to take into consideration, the fact that I got to grab out that ass means a whole lot, and you think that my lifestyle is contradictory to that. It's not. Because the way I got that, if you actually know, I got that through a calm, cool, collect mindset. And you guys have a rest mindset. So so when this girl is fucking Lisa, I talk about fucking channel like over and over again and shit like that, they thought that that they could pull this shit on me, that oh, well, freaking, because what I did is, when you pull a sleazeball, if you don't know what a sleazeball is, a sleazeball is when you are talking to multiple women, and one is trying to give you a hard time, one other one will give you a real easier time. And so so you break up with that one, and then you go back to your multiple options. But what happens is that you make sure she's emotionally attached, so you make sure you get something out of the situation, so you make sure that you let her know that she's missing out and that she can't pull BS on you. So what happened was this, what happened was she sent the text message saying that you're retarded and lonely, because they saw how I lived life outside of grabbing ass, and they thought that it was completely freaking not really boring, but they were pretending that it was boring because they know everybody hangs around them by being fake, and they hang around them just specifically to make them feel better and shit. So anyway, the crazy thing about this was how I feel about it is they started cosplaying as Overhaul, because that's what he said. There's somebody who cosplayed Overhaul called me retarded and lowly and stuff like that. There's still a couple of receipts for that. I used to be in special ed stuff like that, but once you go into the music industry and you realize how many rappers have mental conditions and stuff like that, and how they went through even worse trouble for girls and stuff like that, you don't really take it to heart. It makes you more down to earth when you realize multiple people that you look up to went to a mental hospital and shit. And I've met some really fine girls who went to the mental hospital that are all okay now and stuff like that. That happens when you move on and when you learn multiple traits, because we still have a human mind. It doesn't matter if we went through fucking struggles. It's not happening now, so what's the problem and stuff like that? It's even fucking easier, fucking crazy. You gotta understand, special ed can come from a lot of things. In fact, some of the gangsters you praise are in special ed. Ben was a crip, and you don't know why special ed is special ed. You think special ed is just retarded people on fucking, helmet heads and shit. No, special ed is literally agriculture. It has a whole lot to do more with family and agriculture than it does with actual mental condition, and it also has to do with protection and shit. It has a whole lot to do with it. You know why Ben was a special ed? Because he had poor grades and he was a gang member. He wasn't retarded and shit like that. Ben was excellent at socializing and shit like that. Ben was hella fucking funny. And that's really the main truth about but the stereotypes and stuff like that, that's the difference. And that's why American TV is for third grade and down, because they don't give you the complexity of all these different fucking views of life like how anime does, because of how wacky they make the media, and how cheesy they make that shit too. They make it with the stereotype, the up and down, the confused with no complexity, because life works like a roller coaster, and American shows go up and down until the finish line. And no, that is not a formula for life at all. So but the main point about this is the reason why this is heavily connected is because I really think that that we should go back to making sports and stuff like that, making sports fun instead of making sports an excuse to be social. Because the same thing with the Discord chat, the same thing with fucking One Piece chat. When I started playing sports and when sports lost its purpose, because it wasn't competitive anymore, because the majority of people who played sports wanted to be gang members before my generation and my brother's generation. The Platinum Boys are really good at sports. They could sold the whole fucking basketball team if they wanted to. The Platinum Boys were a couple of gang members who my brother grew up with, but that lived okay lives now, but they realized that banging wasn't anything. But at the same time, what the Platinum Boys did, they could out fucking cuss the coach and stuff like that and shit. And so what ended up happening is they had more muscle power, they had everything, but they weren't as obedient as this generation. So this generation, the government focused on being obedient versus actual quality, because every single time, say if you were a rapper and how how like they criticize you in the studio. It's like, dude, we hit the note fucking 10 times in a row, over and over and over again. What more do you freaking want? And stuff like that. So what the Platinum Boys did, what they couldn't become mainstream because they actually trained to be mainstream. Like literally, they kicked themselves out and shit like that, and the producers couldn't replace them because they were giving them constructive criticism, but it was in the form of being a prick. Like literally, you can't go wrong with the producer, but that's why you gotta take your time when you get famous. It's not about you, it's about the contract you sign and stuff like that. And there's a whole lot of other shit that goes into it and stuff like that. And literally, because they saw that Platinum Boys were talented, they couldn't get Platinum Boy talent, but they can get Platinum Boy obedience. So they focused on more obedience talent. When I started playing sports, people would start getting away with gay shit, like punching down, and we was literally start like fucking taking down underwear and fucking shit and stuff like that. Literally pretend like literally it's not gay and shit. Literally, I went through a whole lot of shit in high school. And they're like, oh, don't be so fucking sensitive and shit. You don't understand, but shit like that. They play that game, but they're not even Platinum Boy level. That's not even how Platinum Boys play. But still, fucking you have to understand, literally. That's why they got away with getting gay shit. And why me, and that's the whole reason why we have Steph Curry and stuff like that. And Steph Curry is cool and shit like that, but literally, and that's why he's the one who drives the entire fucking league. He's the one who everybody talks about when in actuality, what I'm trying to get at is that's what made sports weak. Because literally, we would have very few people who would drive. We would have a whole bunch of people who would get away with bullshit. That's because they were the only ones who were available. And the people who are strong enough to actually like bring a basketball league, a baseball league farther, got kicked out because of the way they were treated. And so that because they felt entitled because of how talented they are to get more bang for the buck. And they're like, okay, my way or the highway. So we left. So the producers started getting people like Lil Pump when they could have had people like the Platinum Boys that can do the same thing that I can do. You see how I can make a rap song and I can make references about getting head, but I can also make mainstream references like We Got 82 and shit. That's how the Platinum Boys roll, because they were media boys when mainstream media was at its prime. And the crazy thing about it was this, like literally, they got their name Platinum Boys from the Beastie Boys, so they knew not to make the same mistake as the local rappers. Oh, we're not gonna just make rap songs about sipping lean and getting head. We're gonna go into detail about it, and then we're gonna hit him with some mainstream metaphors like Eminem and stuff like that. We're gonna have something to relate to. We're gonna fit to their criteria, and they didn't make it to the mainstream, and then they ended up going fucking crazy and stuff like that because they had the right to feel entitled and shit like that because of how hard they worked and like literally and. That is all connected to this generation because the Storm generation is doing the same thing. Literally, the Discord chat is really doing the same thing. Instead of passionate anime fans, that even though there are some anime fans that can get away with like doing this and that, because I got away with doing that shit. Like when I figured out that girls are easy to get, I started to be on anime way more. I started punching like literally in the air like fucking Fist or All Stars to pretend that I was an anime character in public. But literally in private, I can still pull girls and stuff like that. And I'm trying to let you know that literally freaking. It wasn't even about anime as a whole. What I'm getting at is literally, we need to go back to the passion. We need to go back to literally why sports are important is because they get people involved. It's a good physical activity, but they can give you the wrong mentality if you're dealing with the wrong people. And people thought, oh, ever since play sports and that's it, without thinking who's playing them with me, without doing this and that, without thinking, because I lived in a gay generation where it didn't matter. As long as you're doing something productive on paper, there is no complexity, no context. And literally, and that is what's wrong. That is completely what's wrong with the mainstream media today, because literally, because we kept on getting away, and because we kept on censoring things, because we kept on literally not allowing the strong to survive, and kept on labeling the strong bad, like, oh, the Platinum Boys, literally, they're just fucking hoodlums and stuff like that. We can't put them on because we don't see their vision and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, we need something different in the mainstream media and stuff like that. Literally, crazy as fuck. You know, also the catch story too, if they were actually got famous, they would have had their cake and eat it too, because literally, that was also a part of the plan, because they had local rap style but mainstream rap abilities. What would have happened is this: they would have been on the block. Like, say if they would be like New Kids on the Block, literally, the Platinum Boys would be like literally as popular as the New Kids on the Block. Who cares about New Kids? I like the new song that they have on the radio, but am I gonna play them in rotation? Like literally, just not literally. I'm gonna listen to what they have on the radio. Oh, I might look them up online because I like the way this guy flows and stuff like that. So they will have their own personal fan base, and that is 100% detrimental for the rap game, because they want them to be basic and literally gain all the basic benefits, have all the attention on them, so they have no freedom. The Platinum Boys were at the perfect mentality where they like have their cake and eat it too. Like literally stuff like that. Literally, we have a limited fan base, but literally fucking we have a fan base that actually likes us for who we are, not just the fact that we're on the radio and shit like that. It's crazy as fuck, literally, and I figured that out like over time. And how I feel about anime being normalized is now it's appropriate because now we learn from the least mistake. Now we learn we can't just trust a girl with big tits that literally had a whole bunch of relationships on paper where half of those relationships trying to rape her and shit. And just because he had one punch sign on a great man in society, literally, you call me fucking retarded, lowly as shit after literally, oh, it was on paper that I was in special needs and stuff like that, but I still pulled you. I still put your number and I was in special ed and stuff like that. You have to understand. And all that other shit literally goes into it. And I still put all the other girls' number. You literally came to me with a non-special ed purpose and you tried to treat me like I was in special ed. It didn't work. So like literally, they tried to trap me in a situation that was complex, and then they tried to say that I was retarded and lonely. And that's how it was always fucking going. And the real reason why they got rid of that was because of their reputation, nothing else. And this all ties into why it's okay now, because now the people who watch anime have in mind. Now people have responsibility. Like that girl who was wearing the freaking Jujutsu Kaisen shirt, Lily, I was watching at the supermarket, she was fine, she was Mexican, and she had a little sister she was taking care of. So the maturity was there down packed, okay, Lily, over and over again. And I'm thinking about it like, dude, this shit's crazy. Like there's still some girls that think that anime is dumb, but I like that because we need to make it different, because what made anime stand out back in the day is freaking like anime because it's fucking different. It provides us a whole lot of substance and shit that, but we don't have people supporting our statement in society. Now people are supporting our statement in society, but now they're getting us confused for the wrong people. We're not the least mentality. We're not really the fucking Livingstone mentality. We don't really use this paper shit as an excuse to fall back on. No, we're very passionate. That's why I grew up in the age of anime where you have to explore all the possibilities in a fighting game. Nowadays, people pick the same characters in the fighting game, and just like the ARL, there was this thing called the ARL fucking animation rap league where we could rap as any anime character. They would battle each other. They would pick the same characters every time. They would pick literally the main characters of literally the most popular series each and every time. They would pick Pain from Naruto over 3 times. They would pick Luffy from One Piece over 3 times. Over and over and over again. I'm like, when you gonna use some unique characters? When you go like take advantage of all the characters the anime has? It's like, dude, we're not nerds like you are the Ray-Rins. We go to work at school. We don't have time to watch anime all day. They hit me with that when all they were doing was watching shit like Netflix shows and shit. You see how like really they were watching, what they would do is they would make fun of me for watching an anime called Fairy Tail, and then they would go on Netflix and go watch Luke Cage and literally and think that badass and shit. You're still watching something fictional. You have to understand, just because there's a black guy as a host, just because there's a stereotype supporting your statement does not mean that it's not immature. And that's why mainstream is for literally 3rd grade and under. And that is literally really, and that's why I feel like there was a whole community that fell back at us. Like the Marvel comic, the fake Marvel. There's a real Marvel comic community where people are over 40, and there's a fake Marvel comic community where people are like literally 30 and under, literally, who think literally that Superman being Goku outweighs Goku's charisma, and like literally, and that's not the case. And that's why literally freaking Superman is really fucking damn near foreign to the United States. That everybody loves Goku, even in America, more than Superman. Literally, okay, so you have to understand that literally all this shit ties in. So like they would pick literally the strongest characters in Storm, and I would beat them literally with characters like freaking 1010. If you go watch the Naruto series, 1010 is literally low on the popularity chart for literally. I would use 1010 fucking like literally freaking unique characters, and I would scrape them. They would always use the most powerful characters. Like it's not their power, it's how you use them. And literally this and that, and people really get caught out like that's the mainstream. We have this literally just infected mainstream mentality that literally freaking just because you pick a strong character that you are not strong character, that you know how to use them and stuff like that. Like it's a catch-22 to fucking everything. Oh, we think we're gonna get away with calling them retarded lonely without really recognizing how much ass you grab. We're out recognizing this and that, all because of like what was happening on paper. Because I didn't actually have a girlfriend on paper before I got so-called roasted by Lisa, and Lisa only had relationships that are obsessed with her big tits. Sorry. Me stuttering doesn't make a difference, and we live in a world where stuttering makes a difference only on the streets, and the streets are very small compared to the whole world. You can't compare with the ants, where I have a whole world mindset. So literally, you gotta understand, like that only happens on the streets, and plus those people who criticize you for stuttering are pussies anyway. And so that because really, real people know that nobody's perfect and shit like that. Real OGs know that nobody's perfect, and like literally. And you have to understand, like, literally, this is something I'm trying to, like, really get to the community, and it's a very good story. So this all ties into this really long video, because I really just want to express myself about why we need to bring sports back. We need to actually make sports competitive again, instead of really just make it about, like, really highlight plays and stuff like that. We used to go into detail about really the coach's mom, the players, fucking, how funny they were, like, the exclusive interviews were way fucking better, like, really, fucking the documentaries were way better. What the fuck documentary do we have for Stephen Curry? what the fuck documentary after this? We used to really go into depth about freaking people like fucking Michael Jordan, freaking and all that, how they envision basketball and stuff like that. We don't really go into that much detail anymore. We need to really get passionate about sports again, because people started to play sports just so society will support their statement, just like the freaking ARL. Oh, we're gonna like talk about random articles and shit like that, literally just say sex and propaganda without actually experiencing it, so like society will back up our statement. Literally, it wasn't about quality, it's will society back up our statement without you having to think of your own, without you catering, like making your own character and shit. And that's why MGTOW took over, because you forget about Lily. That's how you gain an actual personality, by going the unique route, by doing something that nobody else is going to do. That is how you literally become a man amongst men. That's how you get your wife, that's how you get everything. That's how you get a name for yourself, something that really stands out. It's okay to be basic, but if you gotta be basic, you gotta be regional, you gotta be competitive. You can't really pick a basic thing and expect it to save you from the complexities of life. Literally, oh I'm gonna expect a sport to get me a girl, I'm gonna expect literally a sport to like literally pamper you, always have somebody to be there, so that not thinking about, no, it's not just like sports is who you're playing with, it's literally, oh no, it's just sports. Sports is like that. You get physical benefits out of it. You're always doing something with somebody and stuff like that. They take you on trips and stuff like that. They make sure you're not in the same spot. But what do they do to enhance your mind? What do they do to enhance your thinking? What happens when they're not there? Do they give you the tools? Do they give you universal tools? Like Mr. Pleasure gave me universal tools, and I was even a special ed. Like he told me tools I didn't figure it out until I got older. Like, you know why I'm not validating you now? It's because validating is how they live and literally how they get their resources, and that's why they always have a car that breaks down. And you gotta be smart enough not to fall for the peer pressure way until you get at least 5,000 a year car. This American cartoon is called Alice-Miranda. It's really a good cartoon. This is something that Mr. Enter would review, and literally, Mr. Enter is my favorite animation critic. He's the only animation critic I know, but he's still a really good critic nonetheless. He really has patience. He has tolerance. I didn't even know that he was autistic when I first started watching his videos, but after he had to confess in a video that he was autistic in order for me to understand, and it was really crazy. I love Mr. Enter. I was obsessed with him. He showed me another part about life. He showed me why you shouldn't give a fuck about people in society. Even though I found another way to like gain weight in society, a lot of people are right. When it comes to like neglecting girls, a lot of people like could like get girls or get like, you know, things above that. Could use swag to get everything to get girls and stuff like that. But then they realize how shallow girls are, because I started getting girls a really shallow way. While I'm used to a complex lifestyle, I used to be a bar rapper, for God's sakes. I used to have to do rhyme schemes, fucking complex bars. I got away with doing very simple shit like oh, just make him laugh and fucking shit like that. Like very simple shit, but it all came back into having fun. And a lot of people are right. Like Mr. Enter had the mindset that people were disgusting. I hate all humans, and I had that mindset too. But I learned how to work with them over time because I was forced to work with them. So I understand where Mr. Enter is coming from. And when I worked with girls, I thought the same thing. I'm like, man, they're so shallow. They only like me for my outfit. Fucking this girl only likes me for my dick. She doesn't even dare want to watch anime with me and stuff like that. And then I learned over time, after they realized that they were wrong and stuff like that, that I learned that, yo, instead of me trying to seduce some more time, why don't you just have fun? And that's how I learned how to live life from now. But that all came with the trial and error. So I understand. Don't act like you're not right, but there's still more to it. There are barriers to life that keep it from getting to that knowledge. I got that knowledge from breaking those barriers. And some people are put in certain situations where they don't have to break those barriers. That's how I learned how to have fun. A lot of people just fucking give up. Some people even go to jail on purpose because they don't want to deal with how shallow society is and how shallow girls is and stuff like that. But I learned how to have fun and stuff like that. I learned how to treat them like a normal person and stuff like that. But it took over fucking time, because you have to have some experience for that happen, because you still have to establish romance and shit. Not only do you have to have fun, you have to establish romance. And that's the best thing about girls and stuff like that. Like, they'll be really understanding. But at the same time, this American cartoon is called Alice-Miranda. It's a really good one too. It's one of the most unique ones that I've seen so far. I really went above and beyond. I found this on accident, but this really looks like some of the animation of BoJack Horseman, or maybe even like this could be a Flash animation. But anyway, this all ties into a great story, the cartoon script, and there was also a really good story about this guy that saw me. There was this guy who's a fucking total loser now, that pretended to be a loser. That pretended to be a savage online, and he said some savage shit to me online, but then I figured out that he was a scrawny loser in real life. But he had the support system of a whole bunch of nerds. What happened is, I was in this fucking anime rap league, and I was black and white, and there were full black people literally wearing glasses and shit like that, pretending to be sophisticated black men. They were pretending to be brothers, but they were acting like niggas. If you don't know what niggas are, niggas are really ignorant black people, and like literally, they were being ignorant, but they were pretending to be sophisticated literally. So what they would do is they would pick on me because I had a high-pitched voice, but I was equal to them in terms of intellect, but I didn't sound as brawny and fucking manly, this and that. And literally, so what happened was this. So this guy was the scrawniest one out of all of them. I have muscle because I tried to adapt to hip-hop at a young age. I have muscle, I played football, I did wrestling, I could dance, I had a whole bunch of talents in real life, and this guy misjudged me because of my reputation online, because I had a squeaky voice back then, and everybody else had a deep voice, like, hey man, what's up? Literally, they had Chicago accent, they had a Philadelphia accent, and I had, hey, what's up guys, this and that, but I was probably like, hey, what's Gucci, man, and this and that. Literally, I would be like to say, they would always make fun of my high-pitched voices, though, that literally, and they made an excuse for me not to rap. I don't like when you rap faster because I can't understand what you're saying, and literally, freaking, I don't like when you rap mid-tone because literally, fucking, it's corny. I know that you have good bars there, so I know you have good lyrics, so please, for each and every battle from now on, rap slow. That makes it really, really, unfun for me. Don't you think about that? And stuff like, just like that. I'm like, I learned how to rap fast and stuff like that, and you said my flow was corny before. Oh, okay. Well, then don't take a risk at all, stuff like that, and squeeze out all the fun I have in writing and shit. Okay, I got it. But the biggest problem was literally they used that as a tool. Literally, what they did was they played the fool's game and stuff like that. What they did was literally they literally had me achieve for a goal that was going nowhere, but literally they made it seem like it was going somewhere because all of them were getting rejected by girls in real life. They were still anime fans. I was slowly coming out of anime. I was the only one out of the whole league who knew how to dance in real life and shit. Literally, I had a whole life outside of this shit, and that was their all. And literally, that's why they were so masculine up front, but that's why I could still outsmart them, and that's why I would roast them in the chat, and then they would have a call. He's like, oh yeah, Riz will say it to their face or a call, because they would have a more masculine voice to me, and they're like, yeah, you see Riz, you're a bitch and stuff like that. Like, no, we're all running away from our problems on the internet, and that wasn't me running away. That was me literally telling them that they're full of shit, because if you actually pay attention to the storyline, I had a battle that they exaggerate. What they happened is, I had a battle that were maybe mid-tier, and then they said that I was low-tier, but I was playing mid-tier punchlines, but I was up against a higher mid-tier. I was up against a mid-tier that participated in a tournament, and they never let me participate in a tournament. They always left a big-ass mask about why they always kept me at the same rank. I'm like, alright, wherever, man, but literally, because I was equal to them in intellect is why I never fell for this shit. I was equal to them in terms of lyrics and bars. I just didn't have the voice, and I could beat them in fights in real life. I trained with boxers in real life. I trained with gang members in real life. So literally, I could beat them in everywhere in real life, but they kept on abusing that internet factor and this and that, and they could never get me. And then it came down to a point where I started pulling cosplay girls, and then this one guy saw me pull this girl, and he thought that it was in the back. Oh, I'm gonna show him his battle. I'm gonna prove my point that he has a squeaky voice, and she liked my flow. And she literally is like, oh, this fun. I even pulled one girl from that same league. There was this girl named Shatter. Yeah, I flirted with her. I have phone sex with her. I have phone sex with her literally before the air out ended. Yeah, I had all that shit, all because I had an open mind and because I was very, very nice. Yeah, literally, and I was sparing her my bars like, yo, can I beat Salo? It's like, yo, I love your flow, because you know what I like about you or about the other aerial members is that you're having fun. When you're saying you're sorry, tired, I should call you Billy. Like literally, it's like you feel like you're dancing. I want to dance to your flow. It's not that, you know why? Because you're having fun, and it fits what you're saying, because what you're rapping about is really funny. And I think this is what the aerial needs. This is what Shatter told me in our private call. This is what the aerial needs. But you know what happened? I'm gonna tell you a little bit more if I can play a story about what happened to me and Shatter. What happened was this, literally, freaking, I was talking to freaking Shadow, literally, we were talking about really both of the bitch, so like literally how nice people are and stuff like that and that, literally, and okay, it's like, this is what the era needs. The really gotta like about your flow is that you're not caring what other people say. You're going off the top of your dome, and the best part about that is we're all a part of God. What you think is what I'm thinking. That's the whole part of reverse psychology. And literally, so literally, they tried to convince me otherwise. No, that flow is corny. No, that's not what Shatter said. Literally, just that Shatter is a girl. This is a masculine rap league. Literally, they did that. Oh, and that was their downfall. That's why they couldn't get girls in real life. Then I started pulling cosplayers, and they still holding on to that macho thing, that macho running gag. That's why they couldn't appeal people. She's like, I like your flow because everyone else in the era was like, whoa, I'm gonna tear this thing apart and this and that. And your flow is literally, hey, how you doing? You dropped the egg and stuff like that. Like, literally, it's fucking crazy. It's literally, and then you hit your face across the wall, literally across the Literally, I used to have flows just like that, and they used to say that it was fucking corny. So it's like, I like your flow because everybody else is coming, oh, I'm so serious, and then you're just sitting there having fun. That is literally, and that is the biggest more, and that same formula is how I get girls today. Just have fun. Give you both something. Stop trying to get in her pants and give you... Put yourself in a situation when you both benefit unselfishly. And I learned that over time, like literally. And the best part about that lesson is that same kid always got fertilized for me. What happened is they used this little kid as a punk, and they pretended that literally that kid was stronger than what he was, and he was a really, really scrawny kid. But literally, they hacked this account and they made him say shit over time, literally, that made him seem more than he was. But I did the same thing. I did the same thing because I was at the disadvantage. I had help from other people too. So what happened is they convinced me that I was not where I said, oh, you're not tough. You said you were risk. Because the moment we had you literally square up with this one dude where it came to talking shit, you got totally ignorant stuff like that. I'm like, forgetting about all the times I went toe to toe with the high heels already. Literally, this, that, it really was out there. And I wasn't gonna forget about all my high tier wins just because I got roasted, and they thought I would. And that's really where their downfall was. And so literally, it really was out there. They tried to overshadow this punk thing, so they will constantly make me stiff because they saw that literally I was loose, and they wanted me to be really closed-minded where it came to this battle shit. And literally, it got down to a point where that guy saw me win all aspects of life. He saw me get women, he saw me get money, he saw me get everything, he saw me get status. When they held on to their macho masculinity, and that's where I got the idea for their cartoon scripting, was this little kid. Because literally, he saw me literally having a high-pitched voice, being able to master my intellect and fighting, but I could not hit them where it came to their street game because they pulled the whole stuttering thing. Nigga, did you stutter? I'm like, do you want to throw fists? It's like, no, I asked you, did you stutter? I'm like, I'd rather throw fists, and then they'll get me in a choke or something, like, you cheap son bastard, shit like. That's what they will do each and every fucking time, and you're not gonna wear a life like that. Literally, you didn't back it up with your actions. You cheated, plain and simple, and shit like that. And he saw me go through everything. He saw me with the most of a voice deficiency, but I grew up in real life, and I went through everything. He literally, the guy with the most high-pitched voice pulled the baddest woman. The guy with the high-pitched voice did this and that. Literally, it's all because you ignored that he get fight. It's all because you ignored the fact that he get dash. It's all the fact that you kept on ignoring, and he kept on literally trying to make it seem like that was his default, when really I made it to my biggest fucking strength. You have to actually be confident. You can't pretend to be confident. It doesn't matter if you have a high-pitched voice. You don't get confidence from no experience. That's why when I banged a couple of women, I was able to go up to a girl and say, you're not throwing your ass at me for a tease. You're throwing that ass at me because you know you want it. Hey Lily, you see how I sound like a little kid, but you see how I'm actually confident? That's based off experience. It doesn't matter because confidence is what bitches like. Yeah, they do love confidence if you actually earn it instead of pulling it out of your ass. This guy saw me do dick and tin. All those other guys with their deep masculine voice, they got to keep their masculine voice, but they got to stay little cowards on the inside. And Lily, he saw me roast their ranks, and Lily, he saw the guy, Lily, with the most high-pitched voice do the most extraordinary shit, and all he had was literally to look at them and their deep voice and not doing shit, all because they pretended to be somebody who they weren't online, and I accepted who I was. I accepted the fact that I wasn't hard, and they pretended to be hard the entire time, and that guy learned that lesson. And literally, all because I was flexible, I allowed myself to get multiple tools to a point where they weren't anything anymore, and literally, it was fucking awesome. And literally, this cartoon is called Alice-Miranda. Literally, I really recommend it. I really hope you guys understand that this is a really inspirational, because how I figured out about this is my obsession for writing, is how I changed as a person, is also how I viewed it. You see how I don't fall under peer pressure? I get what this is trying to portray. I get literally that this comes from another country. I get that literally it's not just a cartoon, that literally it's referencing so much like lore and literally goodies literally from back in the day, back when Goosebumps used to exist. Like literally, you understand that literally this is literally teaching you how to be a really good kid, and I really love this about this. So this all gave me the inspiration to make this. The guy literally thought that literally because of my high-pitched voice that I'll continuously have to deal with street cred 100%. But what happens when that guy gets a job? He saw me literally, I was the only one who got jobs, I'm the only one this and that. Literally, the one who literally thought he was a coward is the one who ended up the bravest one of all, because he's the one who actually faced his problem head on.